Okay, so this is going to be my video for Algebra 2, the activity that I linked to in the topic called Let's Get Mathalicious. Let's do this. You can either follow along with paper and pencil and a calculator on your own, or you can use the scientific calculator tool that will be provided. Desmos, if you remember, is a website that we used back in probably October or November. I'm a little sad that we haven't used it more. But it's a fantastic website. The tagline for the website was beautiful free math. And this is going to be the video that I'm going to have host to go along with it to help you guys guide you along if you need help. So the activity that I posted is called Billions and Billions. It's actually not my activity. I've kind of adapted it to Desmos from another website called Mathalicious. Which seemed like a pretty fun activity to do, and a good review of exponential functions. Um, so sign in, go ahead, use your student account and hit go. So in this activity, we're going to look at population growth, which is a kind of nice little application of exponential growth. Let's watch this video. So hopefully you've written some kind of response. All right, so I've written an answer here that I should have paused earlier, but I said, maybe megacities as population centralize, possibly food or energy shortages, or other unforeseen global events. Call me crazy, I don't know. Maybe I've been reading this book, Ready Player One, so maybe that's skewing my thoughts on this. But anyway, I can hit share with class, and then what will happen is you'll be able to see 3 random responses from other students, including myself, since I'm joining you guys on this. Then you can just hit click next and go to the next screen here. So the next screen is about deaths and babies per minute. At the end of 2019, there were about 7.7 billion people on Earth. Listen to the metronomes, which represent the number of people who die around the world each minute, and the number of babies who are born. Based on these, how many people do you expect there to be at the end of this year, 2020? So go ahead and click on this video where I recorded the sounds of the number of people dying or being born each minute. I think I limited it to 30 seconds. So go ahead and try to count the 30 seconds. How many times do you hear the people being born? I'm going to pause the video again to let you go ahead and do that. And I'll do the same thing. Okay, so hopefully you've watched the videos. I know that's a little tricky, and counted out how many you heard. So for me personally, listening to the 2 videos, I counted the number of deaths per minute. I counted about 41 in the 30 seconds that the clip was for. So let me multiply that by 2, and we'll call this around, I don't know, say about 80. And the number of births, that was a little trickier. In the 30 seconds, I counted 125 in the clicks. So let me again multiply that by 2. and we'll call it about 250 births per minute. So, what does this mean? Well, every minute, about 80 people die, right? And about 250 people are born. So, the number of people in the world changes by, let's see, no, I kind of want to do 250 minus 80, right? And if instead of grabbing a calculator, what you can do is you can click on this little icon up here, scientific calculator, and it will bring up a scientific calculator. Let me move my screen for a second. Yeah, that's a better spot for me. That you can use if you don't have a calculator at home, if you just want to use this one. So let me say 250 minus 80 is 170. If I hit enter, it'll save this up here, and this actually will get saved if you want to kind of stop here, pause, come back to it later. Not only will your answers be saved here, but whatever you typed into the scientific calculator will also be saved. So I can just kind of copy this over, and if I want to be fancy, I can even copy it in math, this kind of like math format, say 170. The number of people in the world changes by 170 each minute. So what does that mean? Well, it means there's 170 new people each minute. So the number of people in the world, or in a year, changes by, let's see, I kind of need to figure out 170 new people per minute times 60 minutes in an hour times 24 hours in a day times 365 days in a year means there's 89,352,000 new people each year. So again, kind of, I'll put this in here. That's a lot of people. So how many people will there be at the end of 2020? Well, there's 7.7 billion at the end of last year. So you can kind of, let's see, 7.7 billion. That's, how many zeros do I need for that? That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's 7,700,000,000 plus the 89,352 means that we'll go up to about 7.79 billion. So there will be close to 7.8 billion. We'll call it 7.79 billion people. And of 2020, we'll have gained 89 million people. And again, I can share this with anyone else. Maybe some people will see my answers. All right, let me close this, and then we'll move on to the next page. So in the next decade, let's see, as a percent, we're going to try to predict how many people will there be in the next 10 years. So as a percent, determine the rate at which the human population is changing each year based on the change that you calculated from 2019 to 2020. So what percentage has the world increased by? Let's see. And again, we can go back to the calculator if we want. Our answers are still in here. But we said that It was about 7.79 billion after we added this 89 million people in 1 year. So let's go back. So 7.79 billion. And remember, there were 7.7 billion at the previous year. So what is that as a percentage? I'm going to pause the video. Why don't you go ahead and see what you can figure this out. And then based on that percentage, if we continue to grow at that rate, at that percentage change each year, how many people will there be in the year 2030? Remember, this is growing by a percentage now, so it's not going to be adding 89 million each year. It's going to become an exponential function. Let me go ahead and pause the video, take a look, try it yourselves, and then I'll come back. Okay, so hopefully you've had a chance to try to answer this. I'm going to kind of work through it myself right now, so bear with me. And, it doesn't matter if we don't come up with the same answer, it's fine. This is just, like I said, this is the first week. We're just kind of trying to get started again. You know, expectations are pretty low, but trying to look at some interesting problems and get back into doing some math. So anyway, so I think there are we said there were 7.79 billion people at the end of this year. So as a percentage from the 7.7 billion, we get this fraction. So what does this mean? This means that we've increased by 1.1 or maybe 1.16% as a fraction. So let me write this in. As a percent, the human population has increased by, I can even write my math in here if I want. This video could be, I can make it a little smaller. Nope. Where can I put myself? Up here. I'll throw myself at the top of the screen. Why not? Okay, so I can say it's increased by, and I can actually just copy and paste this from here. So let me copy, Control C, and then in here I can, if I try to paste, it kind of comes out funky. So instead, let me say I'm going to type some math, and I'll say this comes out to about 1.011, call it 1.1%, or 1.1%. If you remember, the 1 in front is kind of ignored. We're looking at this as a how much more than the original number is it? Okay, so then let's answer this next question. If the species continues to grow at this rate, why we're calling ourselves species now, how many people will there be in the year 2030? So remember, this is in 2019, we had 7.7 billion people. So we can write a little exponential function here, 7.7 billion, and jump the billion times, let's increase this by 1.1%. So we're going to multiply by this rate, this fraction here. And that's every year. It's going to increase by that 1.1%. So if we do this between 2019 and 2030, I guess it's about 11 years. So we do this 11 times, be raised to the exponent to the power of 11. We'll have 8.68 billion. Remember, the 7.7 was billion, so 8.68 billion if we keep increasing at this rate in the next 10 years. let me write this. In the next, I guess, 10 years, it's really 11 years from 2019, there will be I'll just write this math in here again. 8.68 billion people in the world. It's a lot of people. So think about that. It took us like 2,000 years to go from 1 billion to 7 billion. And then in about 10 years, we're basically gaining a whole other billion people. Yeah. Again, I can share this with the class, and some people will see my answers. I guess the first 3 people will see my answer because it'll pick 3 responses at random. So I guess the earlier you get in, the better. Okay, so let's, yeah, it saves it either way. Let's keep going. Gonna move me around here. Here, going all over the screen. Okay, so in the next decade graph, so use the following link to explore an interactive graph showing the growth of the population over the next decade. Now this link I kind of copied from the website that I was using. It might not work. If it doesn't, let me know. Again, we are trying to just figure out how to make this work. But go ahead and click on it and take a look at this graph that it brings up. Which again is made in Desmos. So here we are. And you know what, actually play around with the graph and see how does your answer compare, or how does our answer compare to what you get from this graph. You're going to have to change the percent rate of change, and you can kind of scroll that to do it to whatever we said the rate of change was, and then you can kind of scroll ahead in time and see how many people there will be in the next 10 years. Go ahead and try that out.